Good afternoon. Good afternoon, and welcome to We Believe Digital News Break, broadcasting to you live from Jackson, Mississippi, where the sky is opening up right now. It's pouring rain, about 86 degrees. Expecting it to start cooling off soon, but this is the first significant downpour like this that we've had since the river crested about 10 days ago. We've had a little bit of rain here and there, but it's really coming down now. So we'll see what this leads to as we continue to make progress working our way out of this water crisis here in Jackson, Mississippi. And so glad you're joining us at We Believe. That we feel like we've got a special gem here, We Believe Digital, all kinds of capability to tell your story, to get your messages out there and share with the public. So many podcasts are, voice only, but obviously we have the video dimension and we want to share that. We've got a reach that is truly global. And we get feedback from different parts of the world that, people are hearing us and seeing our programming, so we're delighted about that. So here we are on Friday afternoon, and Mr. Garrett, how are you doing on this Friday afternoon?
I'm doing extremely well. They said the eagle flies on Friday.
That what they say?
Yeah.
The eagle flies.
How did you get paid when you were in the Navy?
Boy, oh boy!
Did you get paid every Friday?
Well, it depended. Early on in the Navy, we had to go and stand in a pay line, and you got paid with $20 bills. No other kind of denomination.
Yeah. Just
straight $20 bills you got paid by early on in the Navy, and then things went the way of direct deposit after that.
Oh, okay.
But the eagle only flew every other Friday, so to speak, twice a month.
Twice a month.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's good to be here. Jackson is continuing to struggle with this water crisis, and so many people have come to the aid of this city until it's just remarkable. The mayor of Houston, Texas, sent his folk over here to help out, Sylvester Turner over there in Houston, and churches from all across this country, the AME Church in there in Cobb County. As well, and the list is just so long for the people who have extended some assistance, and the prayers are really felt here in Jackson, Mississippi.
I heard something earlier too with there's something similar going on in a part of Baltimore right now too, and so there's that just kind of amped everything up too, and now you have some corporations that are going both ways and sending things towards sending resources to Jackson and sending resources up there towards Baltimore as well. So, but so much has been transpiring over the last few days here, and just on yesterday something happened where we just don't see. I mean, you had all the all the folks sitting at one table. You had the governor, had our Congressman Benny Thompson, the other congressman from District 1, from District 1, District 3, Michael Guest showed up on the scene yesterday for the first time. Now the Obie Water Curtis plant that failed is now back operational. That's in his district. But yesterday he was here and he was at the table. You had the mayor at the table. He wasn't excluded. He was invited. All sorts of folks, the EPA folks, the FEMA folks, everybody sitting at a table talking about things. And so who knows what's gonna come out of that? But you got to have the dialogue. You got to have honest, open dialogue to get things started.
Yeah, you and I are both military people, and so in the foxhole, You know, it doesn't matter about the color of your skin.
No.
You know, that's not an issue at all. And when you're in the same foxhole, when you're being threatened by a common enemy, then we band together and bond with one another, and it's a very beautiful thing, even though it's in a tragic situation. I got a feeling that Jackson found itself in a foxhole, and now it's got all of the agencies and all of the people that you just identified are in that foxhole with us.
Yeah.
And that could be a beautiful thing if our governor of the state of Mississippi could join in a remarkable way to assist the African American mayor of the capital city. If they had a real relationship and a shared vision, then this situation would have brought Jackson further than we would have ever gotten on our own.
Yes.
That's what I think, Chris.
And I love your attitude. I mean, your positivity about all that. I mean, it's just yeah. So let's hope. And you know, people come out of the woodwork. Like, do you remember as Lieutenant General Russell Honore, that was so involved down there in the wards down in New Orleans with Katrina and all?
Yeah, a big bald head white guy.
He just came. Oh no, you talk about Mitch Landrieu.
Okay.
You talk about the former mayor of New Orleans.
Okay.
Well, he come up here. He was toting. He was lifting cases of water.
Okay.
But Lieutenant General Russell Honore, you know, he's not a white guy, and he's just down to brass tacks kind of. You know, he just got in his truck and drove up here. Nobody asked him to come up here.
Yeah.
You know, he just came up here, and now he coordinated the logistics for much of the Katrina relief effort.
Yeah.
You know, and for somebody like that, I mean, it tells you something about the caliber of people out there, and that there's people that really do see us here in Jackson and really do care about us.
Yeah. And so, you know, the opportunity is so significant. I remember during Katrina, you know, the greatest devastation that we'd ever seen as a state. And yet we were able to rebuild, and we had so much assistance under Governor Haley Barbour. We were able to actually rebuild the port on the coast. During that time. So there are a lot of things that can get rebuilt with situations like this. All of the money that's in Jackson, is more money in Jackson now and in the state of Mississippi than we probably ever seen before. So it's an opportunity, Chris.
Yes.
It's an opportunity to fix some things that have been long-standing problems and issues if we come together and work together. And I keep bringing up coming together, because early on, it was quite obvious that the mayor and the governor were not in the same sandbox.
Right. Yeah, it's the clenched fist in the photographs. The governor, he really, it's surprising because, you know, but I guess he's a politician. It's just sometimes. I understand it's critical to the way we all function and everything, but sometimes I just wish that they could set that aside, you know, in times like this, and just forget about that, forget about all the political, you know, I don't want to go against what you were sharing earlier with very positive about these people finally getting together, and I hope it's effective. But so far, I mean, the truth is, we really wouldn't be at this state, at this condition, our conditions on the ground here in Jackson, if, you know, to my way of seeing it, if people really saw us, as people and embraced us as people, regardless of skin color. And we haven't seen that. And so hopefully, like you were saying earlier, maybe this crisis can bring about some kind of shift. I mean, I'd really like to be optimistic about that.
Well, Chris, I don't believe we could get any worse.
No. No.
So I believe that the only place for Jackson to go is upward.
Yes.
And I believe that Jackson is really in a crisis mode, but I believe the state of Mississippi is in a crisis mode as well.
Yes.
None related to the water plant or the failed system in Jackson, but to all of the other ills in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
When we remain last in so many categories, we can't go any further down, Chris.
Right.
So, you know, with new leadership and new emphasis, especially by the President of the United States of America, who has shown up powerfully in a mighty way, in a timely way. Congressman Thompson has been on the ground here. As you said, Reagan with EPA has been on the ground. The head of FEMA has been on the ground. You know, MEMA, the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, is on the ground. The Corps of Engineers is on the ground. The National Guard is doing an outstanding job of distributing water to Jackson citizens. The city of Jackson has got all of its public works department on the ground here, and all of the local engineers and contractors are on the ground. And so out of this ruin, out of these ashes, the city will be rebuilt.
Yeah.
Chris, and it can't happen unless folk like you and I keep speaking about it, keep sharing it and talking about it until we talk it into reality.
Okay.
And, you know, Sherry Jones, the marketing manager for WMPR, says we got to walk it out. We got to claim it, but then we got to walk it out. You know, it would be great to see our governor and our mayor in a big embrace.
Yes.
Talking about how proud we are as a state and Jackson as our capital city, and how we're going to make it a shining star, you know, that others would emulate and folk would want to come here.
Right.
It can happen, Chris.
Wouldn't that be something if they could just sit down and have dinner together sometime? Their families and all. The governor's got two girls, I believe.
I believe he has 2 daughters.
And the same thing with the mayor.
Yes, I believe so.
Now, how about that?
How about that?
And both of them got beautiful, intelligent wives, and I mean very.
Just great.
Dr. Lumumba. I mean that could be a beautiful dinner right there.
Great family people.
You start to see the person, you know, the person behind the role.
Well, you get to see that when you're in this foxhole that I've been talking about.
Yeah.
You know, my only way out of this situation is with your help.
Yeah.
And your only way out of this situation is with my help.
That's right. That's right.
You know, the Indians had the ritual when they would cut their palms and you become blood brothers.
That's right.
It's symbolic, but it meant that we were in this together. And we're going to work our way through this together. And so I'm looking forward to seeing some symbols like that from our current administration, not only the governor, but the lieutenant governor and the speaker of the House. Those 3 men are the most powerful men in the state of Mississippi, and they control just about everything that happens. So I'm looking forward to that, Chris, and maybe you and I will get invited to the great celebration.
You know, I would look forward to it as well, but sometimes I get a little confused because, you know, when I hear the lieutenant governor, you know, I've just been here 18 months now. Okay. And so it's not like I'm on any authority on anything here, you know, and yet I do have eyes and I do have ears. And when I heard the lieutenant governor a few days ago, saying it's all, and people are starting to repeat it, saying he sees Mississippi as a big neighborhood, you know. And then I noticed Visit Jackson is promoting about 5 restaurants downtown, encouraging people, please go to these restaurants. Please go to the restaurants. We're one big neighborhood, they say, the Visit Jackson marketing arm. And I don't, you know, it's not the way I feel when I'm driving the streets of the city. It's not the way I feel when I weekend before last, took a drive up through the Delta, visited a little place called Midnight in the Delta after passing through Yazoo City and all, and I didn't get a feeling like it was all one big neighborhood. So we got to get past that.
No, and you have
to tell the truth.
And you have to see some evidence of that.
Yeah.
And so what you see currently is the conditions that we're in. Mm-hmm. It's hard to vision something that you can't see, but in the Bible it talks about faith, mm-hmm. and it gives a definition of faith. You know, that's the belief in the unknown and things unseen. Mm-hmm. You know, we have faith. Mm-hmm. And so here in Mississippi, at this point in time, we got faith that God's going to touch the leadership, mm-hmm. both black and white, in a mighty way.
Open those eyes.
Open those eyes, mm-hmm. and let us see each other for real. Mm-hmm. Maybe for the first time, Chris.
Boy, be amazing. Well, here we are at the end of our first segment, and we've got a couple of quick commercials we want to share with you, and then we'll be right back.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his 5 senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
And welcome back to We Believe Digital. My name is Chris Young, and I'm here as always with Mr. Socrates Garrett. We want to shift over a little bit into the solutions, working our way away from this, through and away from this water crisis. And yesterday, the Jackson City Council, a motion was made and passed unanimously, Mr. Garrett, that every bit of the remaining ARPA money that the city has is to be devoted fully to water and sewer here, and then we'll see what other funds are available, for matching purposes with the state, because that's been talked about. It's sometimes I find that a bit laughable, because I don't think the state paid any matching funds to get funds, but then they insist that the municipalities pay, match to get the fund. So in any event, that begins the road. They say it could be up to $70 million getting things started with the repairing the infrastructure.
So who made that motion?
Kenny Stokes, Ward 3 Councilman Kenneth Stokes.
He made the motion to obligate all of the COVID money.
All of the remaining ARPA money, the rescue plan money.
The rescue plan money
Yes,
to the water sewer
dilemma.
Right,
yeah. And everybody came on board, a unanimous vote.
Oh, okay. And so they could use that money for a match to gain additional funds from the state?
Not positive about that part of it. I think that's the case, but I can't say that for sure. But just the idea that they're establishing a priority, and that money isn't going to be splintered off or whatever. It just felt like a commitment being made.
So it begs to the question then, who in fact is in control of the repairs that have to be made both at the O.B. Curtis water plant and the distribution system that's in disarray?
Well, right now we know that's the state. The state is in the driver's seat.
So you're saying that the city is going to give its money over to the state?
Well, the emergency declaration by the state goes for 90 days. It can be extended. It's not expected it would be less than that, but it can be extended, just like the President Biden's emergency declaration can also be extended over time. So, I don't think they can just stroke a check today and send $70 million somewhere to begin. I mean, I don't think it works just like that. But it just seemed to me like instead of moving, it just seemed to me to be meeting the urgency. This is the established problem. People have a right to clean, reliable drinking water, and we're going to put all these resources that we have in the bank right now. We're going to devote that to that cause.
Well, I think that the FEMA statute says that the local municipality should be in charge of the rehab and the correcting of the problems that they encounter. And to that end, that the mayor of the city of Jackson should engage in the contracts for goods and services to repair the situation. There's a tremendous amount of funds required to repair age distribution system. See, Jackson may produce 100% of its water at O.B. Curtis and fuel plant, but it loses 40% of its water in its age distribution system. Because some places we have old clay pipes that are still in the ground. And replacing all of those is part of the permanent fix for this age infrastructure. And so there's going to be a tremendous amount of work here. This is going to be a jobs program. This is going to be a requirement that we hire Jacksonians. Jacksonians must be engaged in the repair and the reclamation of their city and their county. It would be a real slap in the face if, in fact, all of the economic opportunity just leaves right back out of Jackson and these dollars don't turn over in the African American community.
Well,
and I'm afraid that our mayor is in a real tug of war to see exactly who is going to be in charge of making certain that this work gets done. I recall he indicated in a press conference that the major contractor that he was talking to is now talking to the state,
right?
And so he has been removed out of the dialogue. That should not happen. That should not happen. And for any contractor that refuses to talk to the local elected officials about the scopes of work and opportunities inside of that city, I believe is making a long-term mistake.
Right. And we hear all this talk of privatization.
Yeah.
So you having long business experience, I mean, when you see a municipality privatize portions of its operations, its maintenance like that, is the city the winner?
Yeah. Privatization is a dirty word in urban cities.
Yeah.
And partly because African Americans, we don't have industry in Jackson, Mississippi. You don't see any smokestacks.
Right.
So mostly everybody in Jackson, Mississippi works for the government. That's the government, or in education, or in the medical market. We call it GEM. government, education, and medical. 80% of our citizens work inside of that area. So, they depend upon the city for jobs. So when you mention privatization, the employees of the city and the fire department and other agencies get a little nervous. And so traditionally, you got to figure out how to balance that. How can you get economies to scale, get cost effectiveness, get the best bang for your bucks, and be a good steward of the money, and also afford every opportunity that you can to grow your own public works department and your own businesses in your side of your city. So privatization is one of those words that the mayor has tried to skirt. I think his description of that is that he was interested in a consultant to handle operation and maintenance for a fee, but the city maintained all of its assets. And so I don't know how that's going to turn out. Many of our cities are top heavy. Many of our cities, we have more employees, and we probably have a couple thousand employees in Jackson, and that's probably, more than we currently need. At the same time, people are protected by civil service. The mayor just can't go in and terminate people, and so only way you can reduce that head count is through attrition and through, retirements and things of that nature. And at the same time, he's got to improve the quality of his personnel. I mean, having 2 qualified Class 4 operators at a plant is not going to work.
Right.
And the reason you didn't have more is because you weren't able to pay more in your budget for those things. And so, when you're poor, you pay more for everything, and that's just a fact. And so we'll see. I don't know exactly what the idea blend is going to be, but there's going to have to be some contracts, some independent contractors that help correct this situation, and the city must maintain its identity and its assets.
And if it's any companies that are doing this work that are not headquartered in this MSA, then the city loses the impact of those dollars regenerating.
Oh, absolutely. The question becomes so finite into where does their tax dollars go, whether or not their assets are described as qualify for exemption from property tax for the city of Jackson. What do they pay in the way of taxes on equipment, on inventory? All of those things are decided upon when you hire folk that outside of your MSA, outside of your local area.
Right.
And so those of us that deal with the economies and the economics of a situation realize that those decisions have to be viewed very carefully, because if you continue to export all of your resources in terms of your dollars out of your community, then you're never going to be able to sustain yourself.
And we're already in a deficit situation.
We are.
Well, let me ask this question. When you're aware of the repairs that are going to have to be made, especially on the distribution side, that's old hat to you.
Yes.
So that being said, how many black contractors in this city? And I hate when people bring up this thing about capacity. Oh, just makes me crazy. But how many black contractors in this city exist today that really could be knocking this work out?
Quite a few.
Quite a few.
Quite a few. When we come to repair and water and sewer lines, when you drive the streets of Jackson and see these repairs being made, most of the operators and the people in the trench that are actually doing the work are African Americans.
Yes.
That's who's actually repairing the water and sewer lines.
Right.
That's who's in the trenches. Mm-hmm. That's who's repairing the valves. Mm-hmm. So we have the skill set of how to do that. The challenge becomes, how do small African American firms get a certificate of responsibility, which the state requires, a contractor's license when the state requires, and how do you get the bonding that the state requires, and all of those things that are put in place to inhibit. Many people think they're put in place to protect the quality of the work, but it's put in place to inhibit those that have not had long standing in that environment from getting in that environment.
So one of the ways, if this governor was sincere about really wanting to help this city of Jackson that's been in decline, for 40, 50, 60 years now, one of the ways that he could do that would be to relax some of those stringent requirements that businesses, like you said, it's really not about the quality, it's about keeping other people out. So one of the things he could demonstrate, if he's really caring about this city moving forward and inclusive and being inclusive, is to relax some of those requirements. I'm not saying take them away, but they could be relaxed to some degree, which would give African American contractors even more opportunity.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Under the state of emergency, the procurement rules are already relaxed. So you just have to have the willpower to do it. You have to have the vision and the understanding that you have to boldly state that 40% of all of the dollars that are going to be spent for the reclamation and the repair of the distribution system and the plant are going to be spent with African American firms.
Now, how do you come up with that number?
You just gotta make that proclamation.
We're 85% black city. How did you come up with that number, 40?
I did. I came up with the number of 40%, taking a look at the capacity inside of the African American community and the ability for us to recruit African American firms in a timely manner. Normally you want to do this over a longer period of time, but since we're in an emergency, we got to do some things quickly.
Okay.
If our politicians would boldly state that we want 40% of all of these dollars to be spent with African American firms, then you would have moved the needle significantly. Because currently, Chris, as you know, we get less than 2% of contracts for goods and services from the state of Mississippi, a state where we are 40-some% of its population.
And a state that huge swaths of this state were actually built, literally built, with the hands of African Americans. Yes,
at one time there were more African Americans in Mississippi than Europeans.
People want to forget that.
Yeah, and so, with the removal of the Indians from Mississippi, specifically the Choctaw Nation, with their removal, then the African American population was probably the largest population in the entire state at one point in time. And so, we build this country. We build City Hall. We build the state capitol. We did all of that work, and we're proud of it. And so we have the skill set to do that. So the leadership has got to catch up to that. You see, Chris, what's really criminal is to have African American firms with demonstrated capacity that are not working.
Yeah.
That's what's criminal. And so I would say a firm like Socrates Garrett Enterprises, where we put all of the water lines in the city of Madison for Mayor Mary Hawkins Butler up there. We put the water lines in Minot, North Dakota in November for FEMA up there. We put in water lines in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. We put in lines in Vicksburg and all over this state. And yet today, our equipment remains idle most of the time. That's criminal, Chris. Right. It's criminal when Rich's Disposal Services comes into our city as an African-American firm with a $1.2 million savings over waste management and demonstrates over 5 months that they can do the job sufficiently and efficiently and still are not awarded a contract. That's criminal. And if you can't take advantage of those kind of entities, then there is no hope to try and reach down at another layer and say we're going to create a black business economy there. You can't do it. So you got to take a look at where you are, and you have to build your programs around that capacity. And you do that by unbundling contracts and other things to make them smaller and make them more accessible for minority firms.
All things that are doable if you just have the will to do it.
We can rebuild third world countries.
Yeah.
We can rebuild. After the war in Ukraine is over, that country is going to be rebuilt. And it's going to be rebuilt in less than a decade. It's going to be redone, and it's going to be better than it ever was before. And so we have demonstrated that we're able to do that. And so all things are possible if the leadership has the desire. That's where our observation and our concern is right here today. Because I've heard no politician say, white nor black, say that we want 40% of these funds to go to African American firms. Just come out and say it. Be bold enough to say it, like Maynard Jackson did in Atlanta when he said that 25% of all projects at this airport are going to go to African American firms. Right. And then you have black contractors that groove, like Herman Russell over there. That's a major contractor out of that environment. And so the federal government says that in the 8A program, we realize the discrimination and the denial of opportunity has existed for so long, till you have to put programs in place to correct it.
Right.
It just won't correct itself.
Understood. Yeah. Well, we're running out of time rapidly here. Just want to let the viewers know, the local Jackson folks, there is another distribution site being stood up at Jackson Revival Center South on Terry Road, 4655 Terry Road, and that's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., so still open for a couple hours today if you can get over there for water distribution. All the other standard sites are open. Metro Center Mall, the Hank Aaron Sports Academy, formerly Smith Willis Stadium, over on Lakeland Drive. Metro Center Mall, of course, on Highway 80. The Mississippi Fairgrounds, Northwest Jackson Middle School, Hines Community College, the Jackson ATC campus, Davis Road Park, and I believe Cardozo Middle School. I'm not certain that that's still on the list now, but I hope we've got all kinds of resources pouring into us, and hope you get a chance to get out there and get some cases of bottled water. Testing is ongoing, but we still don't have what we need to lift the boil water notice. So all those cases of bottled water are critical. And we thank you so much for tuning in today to We Believe Digital Newsbreak. We shall see you again on Tuesday afternoon at 1:30 on Tuesday afternoon, and hope you have a good weekend this weekend, and stay safe out there. Stay safe out there.